Maria thought it would all be joy. She never imagined raising a child would come with so much struggle. She wished she had thought everything through thoroughly. As she watched her 7-year-old daughter playing jump rope in the driveway where her car used to be, her mind flitted to the time before she got married. Maria was born to an Italian family. Although her parents and grandparents were great cooks, Maria didn't inherit those genes. She grew up with intense aromas of Italian delicacies cooked in their family restaurant, right below the flat she shared with her parents. The only skills Maria possessed were persuasion skills. She could make anyone do anything she wanted and only needed to use the right words. However, her younger sister had shown great love for cooking from a very young age, making her the family's favorite, much unlike Maria, who couldn't cook a decent meal. She majored in child welfare at the university and enjoyed every bit of the learning process. When she was 25, she got a job as an assistant in a child welfare office. Her career was to meet displaced children, make them feel comfortable, and place them in foster or permanent homes. She loved her job, and she found fulfillment in it. She was single at 26, and her mother was worried about her, mainly because her younger sister had gotten married 2 years before. When she met Paolo at a coffee shop, she had given up on finding Prince Charming. She was having a quiet snack during her coffee break, and someone spilled a cold latte on her, spoiling the moment's serenity. She should have taken it as a sign, as some warning about the future. She was shocked that afternoon because she hadn't seen it coming. The man apologized profusely and even offered to help her clean her hair. Maria glared at him, left the coffee shop, and rushed home to clean up. Her day had been ruined. She didn't return to the coffee shop until a week later. She met the clumsy guy at her favorite table, bypassed him, and walked to the counter. On her way back, searching for another table, the awkward guy motioned for her to sit at his table. She rolled her eyes but accepted his offer. He looked unnecessarily enthusiastic. He introduced himself as Paolo Alfonsi. He was a tech guy working for a startup. His Italian name reduced Maria's irritation at the man, and she introduced herself. He was wide-eyed with shock when he discovered that she was also Italian. He repeatedly apologized for the latte spill, and Maria accepted his apology. They exchanged numbers and began to communicate frequently. Paolo asked her to be his girlfriend after a month, and they were married in 4 months. Maria's sister had complained that it was too soon, but her mother was ecstatic that her first daughter was finally getting married. The first year of marriage was bliss. She and Paolo understood each other. It was one of the best periods in Maria's life. She kept saving children through her job, and life at home was perfect, until Paolo began to hint at having a baby. Maria was all for it. She also wanted to have a child of her own. They tried and tried for 2 years without any result. Paolo began to get irritated, and his family asked Maria condescending questions. Maria finally decided to visit the gynecologist, and it was discovered that she didn't have any problems. Paolo also checked himself, and the issue wasn't from his end either. They were advised to be patient, and they were for 2 more years. Maria woke up one morning, and instead of Paolo by her side, it was a piece of paper telling Maria that he had found no fulfillment in their marriage and was leaving her for good. Maria was devastated. She had truly loved Paolo. She knew the real reason for his leaving. It was all because they couldn't have a child. They finalized their divorce a few months after Maria's pleas for Paolo to return fell on deaf ears. His family supported him because he was the only son, and they needed children to continue the Alfonsi legacy. After the divorce, Maria remarried, and it was her job this time. She poured out energy and emotions into doing her job right. She had already been promoted to child protection specialist in the child welfare department, so she had new responsibilities and more obstacles to tackle. But it didn't take the loneliness away. Each time she returned home from work, she felt a void of loneliness in her chest. She needed someone. She needed a companion. A new child had been brought to the organization, and she had just been rescued from a family of cultists. The girl was only 5, and she wouldn't say a word. She sat on the sofa in Maria's office, and Maria sat on a chair opposite her. Maria tried to be friendly with her, but the girl didn't respond. She kept looking past Maria's head and smiling like someone was behind her. Maria was spooked, but she didn't show it. Her job was to make the little girl as comfortable as possible. The girl's cultist parents had called her Lucy. That was how her name was known. Her parents had been caught performing animal sacrifices while little Lucy watched, and they might have sacrificed Lucy's older brother too, because they claimed that he had mysteriously disappeared. Maria tried hard to find a family that would take Lucy in, but no family wanted a girl with a scary background. Her lack of speech worsened, and the department didn't know what to do. Maria returned to an empty house another night after work, and an idea came to her. She could take Lucy in. Being a social worker made her even more qualified. The next day, she tabled her request to her bosses and began the paperwork. After a few weeks, Maria was able to bring Lucy home. Her mother told her she was crazy for taking in a child instead of marrying another husband. She asked Maria if she even knew anything about raising a child. Maria was unfazed. She wanted to keep Lucy. She tried to take care of her. Somehow, she connected to a child several parents had rejected. Maybe it was because of how Paolo had denied her. The first 3 weeks of Lucy's arrival were full of beautiful experiences for Maria. She went shopping with Lucy for new clothes. The girl was a massive contrast to Maria. Maria loved bright and sunshiny colors, but Lucy picked only dark garments. Black, dark purple, and red were the colors that made up her wardrobe. Maria enjoyed experimenting with various lunches. They slept in the same room for a few days, and each time Maria awoke at night, Lucy's eyes were wide open, and Maria thought the girl was frightened. Maria couldn't sleep with the lights off, but Lucy seemed to enjoy the darkness. Maria thought it was strange for a little girl, but she dismissed the thought when she remembered the girl's past. A month after Lucy arrived at Maria's house, it was bedtime, and Lucy suddenly stomped her feet hard and pointed towards the room opposite Maria's. Maria took that to mean that Lucy was ready for her room. Maria set up the pink-themed room that night, and Lucy moved in. Maria had expected her to show excitement at her new space, but Lucy only glared at the room decor. "What is the matter, Lucy?" Maria bent down to the girl's level. "You don't like the colors?" The girl nodded. "Don't worry. We'll have to buy new sheets soon. You can pick the colors you want." Lucy didn't look any better than before, but she went into the room. That night, Maria started hearing noises from Lucy's room. Startled, she hurried to the door to find the cause of the noise. She tried the doorknob, but it was locked. She became scared because she didn't leave the door closed, and there was no way Lucy had the key. She began to pound the door furiously. She was about to dial 911 when the door suddenly opened on its own accord to reveal Lucy sleeping on the floor, torn sheets scattered about her. The rug had been peeled off to reveal wooden floorboards. The wallpaper looked like it had been shredded. Maria was deathly scared. Maybe Lucy suffered some trauma from her previous parents. Maria decided to set up an appointment with a psychologist. At the psychologist's office, Maria explained all that had been happening to the black woman with cornrows. Dr. Philippa told Maria to wait outside while she spoke with Lucy. Maria sat nervously in the waiting room, and a few minutes into the wait, she began to hear strange sounds from the room. In a few moments, Dr. Philippa swung the door open. She was sweating profusely. "I really can't say what is wrong with her. You mentioned that she grew up in a cultist environment. This could contribute to the weird behavior she has been portraying." In contrast to the doctor, Lucy walked calmly out of the office with a smile. The doctor couldn't give a precise diagnosis, and Maria was confused. Was Lucy's situation that bad? Things got worse with each psychologist Maria visited until she finally gave up. All the psychologists couldn't tell Maria what was wrong. She would have to accept Lucy as she was. Different. From then on, Maria did everything that Lucy wanted. She changed her bed sheets to blood red, deep purple wallpaper, and the pure rug black. The curtains were also black. After that, Lucy spent most of her time in her room. She hardly came down the stairs except for dinner. Maria always took Lucy to work with her because she was scared of enrolling her in preschool or hiring a nanny. They wouldn't understand Lucy the way Maria did. Maria's life took a downward spiral as she kept thinking about Lucy. The girl couldn't talk, but Maria always heard voices at night coming from Lucy's room. It was driving her crazy. She couldn't sleep and move freely in her own house without the niggling feeling of fear. Maria didn't believe in the supernatural. She didn't believe in angels. She didn't believe in demons. She didn't think that Lucy had problems beyond human comprehension. Things got worse when Lucy had to be enrolled in elementary school. She had clocked 6 and had an appointment with the headmistress of the school. At the headmistress's office, Lucy was asked her name, and Maria was about to tell the woman about Lucy's lack of speech when she heard a small whisper from Lucy, saying her full name, the name from before Maria adopted her, Lucy Dagan. Maria put her hand on her mouth and struggled to control her emotions. "Lucy couldn't talk before," she explained through sobs. "Well, this must be a good sign," the headmistress chuckled. It was a private school, and Maria hoped Lucy would be comfortable with the environment. On their way back from the interview, Maria asked Lucy questions, but the girl refused to talk. She begged, she threatened, but the girl remained mute. Lucy only glared at her. With each question Maria asked, Lucy glared harder, and Maria stopped asking questions. The girl was disturbed. Maria drove home with shaky hands and legs, and Lucy went straight to her room. Maria sat on the couch, holding herself and rocking back and forth. What had she gotten herself into? Could she handle a girl with such complex psychological issues? Lucy was admitted into the school, and Maria had some time of peace at work. Severe anxiety fell on her each time she was to pick Lucy up from school. It seemed like her daughter was talking to everyone at school, but not her. Soon enough, Maria started getting calls from the school about Lucy's misdemeanors. She broke a boy's arm to tease her. She cut off the hair of a girl for calling her a freak. There were many complaints, and Lucy was advised to withdraw from elementary school at 7. Maria was distraught. Her issues with Lucy left her no time to socialize. She became awkward at work and hadn't seen her parents in years, so she decided to visit them. Maria took Lucy with her that summer to spend their vacation in a little town in the big city. A change of environment may calm Lucy down. Maria received a warm welcome from her family. Her younger sister was pregnant with her 4th child. Her grandparents were still in good health, and her mother was still angry at Maria's failed marital life. She told Maria that Paolo had remarried and still had no children to carry on the Alfonsi legacy. This pleased Maria greatly. Maria introduced Lucy to her family, and everyone seemed to be at a loss for words. Until Maria's grandmother yelled, "You return here with no husband or a child? Bring a stranger here after all these years and expect us to welcome her?" The older woman stomped off into her room, and everyone apologized awkwardly to Maria and tried to make Lucy feel at home. Maria was angry at her grandmother's words. All because she was divorced? How was any of that her fault? The summer was not an enjoyable one. Maria's nephew broke his collarbone when he was playing with Lucy. Her sister had a near miscarriage. Her grandmother suddenly had weak limbs and had to be confined to a wheelchair. And her family restaurant went up in flames. And Lucy started it by mistake. It was a miracle that the fire didn't spread to other parts of the building. After the fire, the rest of the holiday became strained. Maria's sister told her children to avoid Lucy, and her grandmother screamed each time she saw Lucy, all because the little girl made a mistake and caused a fire and an injury. Maria couldn't take it anymore. She decided to pack their bags and return to the city after spending almost 2 months in the little town. As they left, Maria's grandmother glared at them. "You brought so much evil to our family, Maria." Maria drove all the way home in anger. Maybe she had made a mistake by taking Lucy in. She should have focused on getting her life back together. Maria told Lucy to sit on the sofa. She screamed at the little girl and called her many names. She was infuriated when Lucy only smiled in return. Maria had exhausted her energy, so she sent Lucy to her room and retreated to her room and cried herself to sleep. It was dark when she came awake. Something had woken her up. Her car's security alarm. Maria sat up and ran down the stairs. Was she getting burgled? She ran outside and found Lucy on the driveway with a baseball bat, smiling at Maria crookedly. "Do you like my present, Mommy?" the little girl asked. With horror, Maria turned to her car. It had been completely smashed up. How could a child create so much destruction? Her daughter had called her Mommy for the first time. But at what price? Her car? That was when Maria decided. She would get rid of this tick. She wouldn't allow a little girl to ruin her life. The next day, Maria called a tow company, and they took her car to the junkyard. She went into the house and made a few phone calls while watching Lucy skip on the driveway. She couldn't believe her bad luck. The next day, she went to her insurance company and explained what had happened to her car, and she got a new car as a replacement. She ignored Lucy for the rest of the summer and often left her at home while she went to work. She couldn't risk the lives of innocent children by enrolling Lucy in another school. Each time she returned from work, the house would look like a hurricane swept through. The hose would be upside down, and strange drawings would be all over the place. But Lucy always locked herself up whenever Maria returned from work. Maria felt a heavy cloud of depression hovering above her, and she felt the urge to end her life on many occasions. Maria repeatedly wished that she hadn't taken Lucy into her house. It was winter, and it was time for Maria to execute her plan. She told Lucy that they would be spending the holidays at a resort. She packed their bags, and they set off in Maria's car. They were off to a mental institution. That was the only solution to Lucy's problems. On the way, Maria turned on the radio to hide her anxiety, but Lucy kept turning it off. "Are you getting rid of me?" Lucy asked Maria. This was the second time she would be talking to Maria, and Maria felt heartbroken. "No, Lucy, I'm taking you to a wonderful place." Lucy turned towards the window, and tears streamed down her face. The girl remained mute for the rest of the journey. They got to the mental institution and Lucy was assessed. She would have to stay there for a long time. When it was time for Maria to leave, Lucy refused to look at her. Maria promised to see her occasionally, and Lucy was taken into her new home. Maria wiped off a tear as she returned to her car. It was all for the best.